Thank you for joining us today. My name is Darrell Kuta. I am the Regional Manager at Teledyne ISCO, and I'm joined today by Dennis McGinnis, the Product Support Specialist and Communication Specialist. Today we will be discussing data intelligence as a service, which entails data retrieval options, technology options, and ways to provide you with meaningful data to make your decisions. So today we will be discussing TWDI. It's a new acronym that you're going to hear more in the future. This is going to be the Introduction to Teledyne Water Data Intelligence Total Data Management Solutions. We'll discuss TWDI data options, data integration, retrieving data using the ICell plan, the Cipher API interface, which we've been getting a lot of great questions on how to use the API. Dennis will discuss how to create the alarm events and how to create recurring reports. There are several options for that. So Teledyne Water Data Intelligence. What is it? Data intelligence is converting data into intelligence, creating solutions from the data. Using the data analysis, you can see I&I issues, surcharging in your collection system that need to be addressed before future backups occur. And Dennis will be discussing how to collect this data and provide alarms to make you aware of these situations. So what is intelligence as a service? Essentially, you keep the data. Really, at the end of the day, that's what you're looking for is the data, regardless of the flow meter that's out there. We're going to discuss how we can use this to reduce your capital expense. So we have solutions so that you no longer need to have a server, which you need to purchase and maintain, which then removes the IT involvement, which is going to lower your cost and make things much easier. With the data intelligence service, we supply the hardware based on yearly contract. So there's no need for yearly maintenance, storage when you're done with a project, or downtime. So I'm going to discuss how with this data intelligence, it's going to make your life easier. And as we go through this presentation, we're going to talk about some different package systems that are going to be available, such as the flow meters and sensors. You can use water samplers for pre-treatment studies, modems that are going to be inside the units, and the external modem for the samplers. We're going to discuss the web-based data access. So as long as you have access to the internet, you'll be able to get your data. One of the big benefits of the Teledyne Data Water Intelligence is going to be your instrument uptime. So as far as with this package, we're going to provide a continuous warranty as long as you're renting the equipment from us. So what that means is that if there are any issues, say your sensors are drifting or stops reading a level, you contact us. We send you out a replacement. That way you have minimal downtime, and then you don't have the expense of trying to, having to worry about paying for potentially costly repairs. Now, using the data, you can use it to determine if you have overflow. You can use it for I&I detection, billing, making sure you meet your compliance, and then pre-treatment detection. Now, where is this going to be used? This data intelligent platform is going to be used domestically only in the continental US and Canada and Alaska. So when will this new Teledyne Data Water Intelligence platform be available? Next year, 2024, which isn't that far off, just a couple months away. So what are the Teledyne Water Data Intelligence data options? We're going to have sampler packages available. For the permanent AC power locations or solar power, we're going to have the signature meter, which is going to have a local display. It's going to allow you to download your data via USB flash drive or with a modem. It's going to be a flexible platform which can allow you to use multiple sensors. And then we're also going to have a portable option with our Darrell tracker, which will be DC powered with either like a deep cycle marine battery or lantern batteries. So some of the options that we're going to have is the bubbler, which will be with the signature meter only. The other sensors that can be used with either the signature or Darrell tracker are going to be the area velocity sensor, the ultrasonic sensor, and the non-contact laser flow sensor. Now, the level-only devices are recommended to use with weirs or flumes. So with the level-only sensor, it's good to use a primary device for accurate flow calculations. Manning's formula can be used, but it's a little less accurate, because with the level-only sensor, such as the ultrasonic and the bubblers, they read level, which is great for indicating that there's been a surcharge or an overflow detection, because they can tell you that there's been an increase in flow, but they do not tell you if there's a reverse flow or surcharging. Now, if you have an application that's such as a round pipe or a rectangular channel that doesn't have a primary device, I want to let you know how you can continue to calculate accurate flow. To do that, you use an area velocity flow meter, which is you're going to need the pipe geometry or the shape. So you can tell your instrument that it's a round pipe or a rectangular channel. You need a level sensor to calculate the wetted cross-sectional area of the pipe. And you need to be able to read the velocity to calculate your flow. Now, how that's done, most commonly is going to be your in-pipe area velocity sensor. And how that operates is it has a pressure transducer to read the depth of the water, which is then used to calculate the wetted cross-sectional area in your pipe. Then it transmits a Doppler signal into the flow stream, and then the return signal is then used to calculate the velocity. And so with this technology, you end up getting a weighted average of all the particles and air bubbles coming through that flow stream. Some advantages of this is that area velocity sensors can read forward and reverse flow. Even if the pipe surcharges 100%, the electronics are smart enough to use the 100% wetted area of the pipe. It will tell you how much depth it surcharged the pipe, and then still give you an accurate flow reading. And there's a bonus with the in-pipe area velocity sensors that it reads temperature also. So if you have rainfall infiltration, you see your levels and flow rates are going up, but the temperature is dropping. It's another indication that you have rainfall creating the INI. Other options for area velocity calculations are a non-contact sensor. In this example, we're using the laser flow, which is using ultrasonic to read the water depth, which is then used to calculate the wetted area. It uses a laser to read the velocity of the water. And what it's doing is reading below the surface of the water. It reads the peak velocity to then calculate the average velocity. And again, with this non-contact, it can read both forward and reverse flow. The nice thing about a non-contact sensor, it is out of your flow, which keeps it safer. You don't have to worry about the maintenance is minimized because you don't have anything in the flow where sediment could potentially cover it or debris could hit your sensor. And then if it's a large channel, it's going to be easier to install a non-contact sensor above your flow streams. That way you don't have to put a technician into harm's way or in the sewer at all to install it. And so that's going to increase your safety, reduce maintenance cost. So it's definitely a good option. Now, what if you have a closed pipe and you still need to read flow? We can still use our signature meter. We have options for analog input. or Modbus input. So you commonly see this with the magnetic flow meters. So you could take the 4 to 20 signal. Now you can feed that into the signature meter, which is going to give you a local display, a non-resettable totalizer. You can use this to create daily reports. Have redundant data storage, and you can alarm off of this. So this can help meet your compliance needs. If you're using our software program, you can use it to create reports with that USB flash drive. You can just plug it in, download it, get daily and monthly reports. So it's a very flexible platform. And then if a modem is added to it, then you can also have automatic alarm notifications. So we can push out a text message alarm. You can push the data directly to our cloud-based software, Flowlink Cipher. So that way you can get your eyes on your site, your equipment at any time to let you know what's going on in your system to make you better informed. So part of the data intelligence packages, one of the examples is going to be the signature with the laser flow sensor for your permanent flow applications. If you have intrinsic safe locations, we offer the DuraTracker EX with the 350 EX sensor. And we also have sampler packages, so you can have the flow meter and sampler, or possibly the 6712 sampler with one of our built-in modules. So it's one complete flow meter and sampler all in one. So we're going to have more information on this to come with future presentations when we release the data intelligence package. Now next, we're going to be joined by Dennis McGinnis, and so he's going to talk to you about the ICell program, the data integration, and the Cipher options.
Okay, thank you, Darrell. So what I'm going to cover now is all of the benefits of ICell. So ICell allows us to be very competitive in the pricing for our customers. It's also a fully tested solution, meaning what we do is we can take that modem and SIM card together and test it in the same equipment that's going to be shipped out to make sure when you get it, it's basically ready to work right from the get-go. So it's basically we're single source hardware and service. It's all in one, and we can test it, and you're ready to go. And because the service is designed to work with our equipment, we can verify there's going to be no outside entities that are causing issues. We don't have to worry about some unknown piece of equipment that's causing the problem, because everything is tested and designed to work here. It allows us to make sure you get a finished product in your hand, ready to go in the field once you receive it. On the post-sale side of that, we also have the ability to troubleshoot it better now, because we have access to that cell phone equipment's account. We can make sure that the service is active. We can make sure that we know the correct settings that need to be in that piece of equipment, so we don't have to deal with the service provider, the cell service provider, to find those things out, because we have direct access to those cell service providers' settings to make sure everything's working great. So we do have the yearly contract for that. It gives us the ability to hand over 10 megs of data to the user and 25 text messages per month. Now, those text messages are going to be used via the alarms, if you have alarms set up in the meter. So those alarms will be sent out as text. So those 25 will be part of that. Also, it allows the user to send text messages to the DuraTracker and the 6712 modem. So those two devices can then respond back to the user what its IP address, and it keeps that window open for 20 minutes. So that's where you're going to use up your text messages for the month. Is those alarms and those responses from those meters. So that's ICell. In a very small package, we can get everything you need for your cell needs. So now we're going to skip over and talk about the data integration portion of this. So this all has to do with Flowlink Cipher. Now, by using Flowlink Cipher, it is a single source for all your data management. And with that, it allows us to use multiple sites, or have multiple sites, I'm sorry, in a single interface. Because it's a cloud-based solution, we have all the equipment out there in the cloud for you to have for you not to have to worry about having those things in-house. This is going to save you time and resources because you don't have to manage the server portion of those servers because that's all taken care of for you. Some of those tools, which we're going to cover here, is the dashboard. With the dashboard, we have the ability to have a quick view of all your sites and their conditions. It allows us to create automated reports as well as alarming for things that are going to happen out in the field. We can get those alarms via email or SMS, text messaging. And it is available for all of our flow meters of the Signature, the 2100 series, the DuraTracker, and the 6712 sampler. All that data can be posted on Cipher and viewable to the user. So with that, I'm going to switch over and I'm going to demonstrate some of those, the data integration portion of it, how we're going to set up alarms and creating those reports we just talked about. So to start off with, here's the dashboard. Here's an example of the dashboard. As you can see, I've got a number of sites listed right here with a number of different types of graphs. I have a voltage reading of all my sites out there in the field, so I can quickly see where my batteries are for my meters. I can create a checklist before I leave. I can have hyperlinks to show me what the weather's going to be like where I go. So clicking on that, I can see what my weather's going to be. Do I need to bring a raincoat? I also have a link for my software updates. I have a number of different types of graphs with information on them, which I can jump to quickly if I need to go to that graph. And I also have a number of shortcut gadgets here for types of alarms that are in the field, as well as if a site is not pushed in. So I have a lot of quick tools here, and it's completely user definable. So I can make this dashboard as large or as small as I want, have any number of sites I want, and I can have multiple dashboards if I want to separate these sites up. Also with the map function, I can see where these sites are and the condition if they're in alarm in the red state, or if they haven't pushed in, which is the yellow state. If everything's working well, it's green, so I can get a really good graphical area of where my sites are. If I want to zoom in on a site, I simply click on it. I can see the last time it pushed in, what its battery voltage is, and I have some shortcuts to make some graphs. All right, so that is the data integration portion of it. Just a quick way of getting your data to see it, to see where you are and what needs to be done. As far as the alarms go, from the alarm screen here, I can see every single alarm from every site in the history of the Cipher listed here. However, if I want to set something up for the server, I can simply go to the settings and I can use the wizard to set up an alarm condition. So in this case, I'm going to set up an alarm condition for my apple tree site. And I want to know when this flow rate is going to be greater than, let's say, 5 gallons per minute. Additionally, I can even put a duration on there. If I don't want it just to peak 5 gallons per minute, I could say it has to stay at 5 gallons per minute for 15 minutes. This will now send out an alarm based upon this condition. When apple tree's flow rate is greater than 5 gallons per minute, I can send that alarm out. Now that alarm, then I can put in a description. So I'm going to say apple tree high flow rate alarm. And with that heading in there, now when that alarm goes off, when I go to my alarm list that I showed you on the screen previously, it'll say apple tree high flow alarm. And I have the ability then also, just before I hit save here, I have the ability to change the end condition. By default, the end condition will always be the opposite. So in order to make this condition go false, it has to go below 5 gallons per minute before it would trigger again. But if I didn't necessarily want that, I do have the ability to take that flow rate and say, okay, I don't necessarily want it right at 5 gallons. I want it to actually have to go low as 3 gallons per minute to make that condition a false. And then what that will allow me to do is now anytime it stays up higher than 5 gallons per minute, even if it dips down to 4, it's still going and it goes back to 5, I won't get a new alarm. It actually has to go all the way down to 3 gallons per minute. And then if it rises up to 5 again, then I'll get a second alarm. This allows you not to get re-triggered alarms over and over if you happen to be around, if your operating conditions happens to be close to that threshold. By saving that alarm, it'll now be listed in my alarm screen. And so here you can see I have my apple tree high level alarm that I just made, and it automatically subscribes the user who created the alarm checkboxes it. So that allows the software to go ahead and send me emails and or text messages, depending on what I have set up in my user account. And that's how it's going to contact me. Every user will need to log in. Even though I created it, I can't add other people to that alarm as far as their emails and text messages go. So each user would need to log in here and subscribe to that alarm themselves. And in their user account, they could also choose if they wanted emails and or text messages. So the alarm is now set. I'm subscribed. So if I have my emails and text messages on, whenever this happens, I will get an email and a text message. Now, whether I'm subscribed or not, because it's on this screen and it's active, that means under my dashboard, anytime that condition happens, my apple tree is going to go with a red alarm hue around it, which I have here. That just means the site is an alarm. So I have a visual representation of it right here in Cipher, even if I'm not signed up for the text messages or the emails. So that's how we create alarms. The next part is going to take a little more time because we're going to talk about reports. And there's a number of ways to make reports in Cipher. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can make a report using multiple sites in a single report. So when I go to analysis, I have a list of all the different graphs I have made previously, and I can have any of these, as a short note, displayed on my dashboard as well with the graph gadget. So every graph that I have available that I've made can be displayed on the dashboard, but I digress. In order to create a report with the analysis screen, I can simply go down here and float over the plus button and go to create new graph. And here I have a list of all my sites, and I'm going to go ahead and grab in my report, I want a flow rate and I want a total flow, and I want to look at last month's data. So here I got my flow rate, I got my total flows. To make this a little better, I can click up here on the top and I can actually say, I want to go ahead and give me an average of my flow rates. I don't need to display total because I'm going to have my total separate on a different pane. So now I'm going to have my average flow rates here. On my total flows, because these are daily total flows marked from the meter out in the field, I'm going to go ahead and make this a bar graph just to make it look a little better. And again, if I want to change my units of measure, colors, any of those type of things, I can have that done here. All right, so this is what my graph looks like. I've got my average flow rate at the top. I got my total flows, my daily, broken down daily total flows at the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and rename this. I'm gonna call this my apple tree demo. I'm gonna say this is my last month report. And because I have this set for relative of last month, whenever I open this graph in the future, it'll always show last month. So creating that graph will then give me access to a number of tools within the graph. But my main thing I want to do here is now I could export this data out to a CSV or PDF. All right, so that's simply as just doing a single site. But if I go back to the edit graph, I could do multiple sites with my analysis screen. So let's go ahead and add, I'm going to go ahead and add my Oak Lake demo, and I'm going to add another one for its flow rate and its total flow. And here I'm going to go ahead and change this flow rate also to average. You'll also notice I have the option to do min and max, and I can actually do a calculation volume here if I wanted to. But I'm going to hit average, and I'm going to break it down daily, just like I did with my previous one. I don't need to display the totals because I'm going to have those in this second or this fourth pane. Second pane for, oh, you know what? I think I grabbed apple tree twice. Well, we all make mistakes. We got to go down here, and I've got to grab this flow rate and this total flow. I'm glad I caught that early on. All right, so here, I'm going to go average. And here, I'm going to do a bar graph. And now I've got averages for apple tree and oak tree, my demos, as well as their total flows for each day. Now when I update this, I've got both sites here with all their information. Now, when I export this information as a CSV, I can simply open it. And it opened it over here. And now I've got my CSV file with all my data sets with my timestamps. Now I do have my total flows here at 1 o'clock because it's at the end of the hour of midnight because it's being recorded in the meter there. And so it actually is recording at the end of the timestamp. So that is a way to get a report from multiple sites in a single CSV or PDF. By using the analysis screen, I can mix match anything I want in there, whether it's there it goes. I can change the name to say Apple Tree and Oak Lake last month report. I'll update that graph. And now it has a better heading with the information I have in there. So this is the slick part. Now that I've made that, the next time I need this report, it's literally 3 clicks. I log in, takes me to your dashboard and you log in. I can simply click on analysis. That's my first click. Find the graph that I made, which is right here. Second click, it opens it up. And the third click, I can export that CSV. So analysis, click on the graph, export. That's simple. This graph will update to last month's information whenever I open it up. So a month from now, 2 months from now, it's always going to open up to whatever the relative last month is. So I simply just hit export and I got my data right there in a CSV or PDF. Okay, so let's talk about reports now. The report function in Flowlink Cipher, it can be an automated function as well, working with the scheduler. So let's talk about the reports first. So under the report screen, we have a list of all the reports that are actually running currently or have run already. So here I have a list of every single report that has been ran through the scheduler or someone ran it manually. So it's a nice historical list of information. I can go back and reopen these graphs. If I have something emailed out to me, which we're going to cover in the scheduler, it'll be listed here and I can simply log in and download it again here if I wanted to. But to make a report, I use the wizard with the plus button. We love the plus button in Flowlink Cipher. Anytime you need to add something or do something with a screen, if you find a plus button, hit it, and that's going to tell you how to set through your steps. So here we got our report wizard. The first thing it's asking is what kind of report we want to do. In this case, I want a site report. The next question is, okay, which site do I want? Well, I want Apple Tree. What do I want in my report? Well, I want to have flow rate, and I'll take total flow. I can hit next, and it's going to say, okay, so with your flow rate, what do I want? I have a choice of doing average just by itself, like I did in my analysis screen. I can simply do min and max as well if I want. On the total flow, I just want the sum. I should also point out, under flow rate, I could actually have it calculate the total flow for me if I wanted to. But I don't need to because I already have it listed over here on its own. But that is available to you if you did not have total flow being recorded in your meter. You could have the flow rate calculate that for you. Okay, so I have the 3 pieces I want for my flow rate. I have my total flow summed up. Okay, what's the time range I want? Well, I'll do last month, just like I had before. And I want it broken down daily. That's it. It's really 3 steps. The first step, you just say what kind of report you want, a site report. After that, you tell it what data you want, what do you want done with the data, and the time range. So it's 3 simple steps to get your report going. You'll notice that the save to database or the download button is not available until you preview it. If you preview it and it looks good and everything's fine, then you can go ahead and save it to the database or download it. Now, if we save it to the database, I can save this report and I can say I want it as a PDF or I want it as a CSV. And then also on that, then that's as far as that goes, that's the report. The report's being saved and I can go ahead and it'll show up in my list, but I can also go one step further and I can save this as a template. If I save it as a template, this allows me to use this same layout, the flow rate and the total flow, with other sites. So a template is not site dependent. So given a template name, I would not include the word Apple Tree because I could use this template with other sites. But I will describe what it is. So this would be last month flow, or I'll do average, min, max flow, and total flow. That's it. I can use the same thing for the description because I usually make the template name very descriptive. And then I have the option to make this template to be public so other people can use it. In this case, I'm just going to keep it to myself. So I'm doing two things here. I'm saving the report that I can go ahead and use right away. And also I'm saving as a template that I'll be able to use over in the scheduler, which we're going to cover next. So let's go ahead and save that. And once I get the green light down here that everything looks good, we're going to jump over and I'll show you where it is in the reports. And there it is. So right at the top, I got my apple tree made by me, and I have an option to download with a PDF or a CSV. And there's my report. I've got a little summary at the bottom. So that's a way to get your reports up and running in your Flowlink Cipher. The other part is under templates, I have the ability now to put any site in there, and it will just simply, if I pick Buck Road as an example, it automatically fills in the flow rate total flow. I just hit next. It's already got the average, min, max. It's got the sum. Everything's the same. It just pulls it right over. It does allow me to tweak it if I want to change it. If I don't want last month or want last week, I can do that here. But simply just doing that, you preview it, and then I can download it. So that's the nice thing about the template. I don't need to save it to the database again because I can simply just download it because I'm using it as a template. If I want to save it, I can, but I don't necessarily have to. So I can just run it through the template once again. Okay, and finally, the scheduler. This works hand in hand with the templates. With the scheduler, I can create my own schedule. So I already have one in here. I'll go ahead and use the wizard. And here, I'm going to give it a description. I'm going to call this Apple Tree Last Month Report. So with that, I'm going to do a site report. I'm going to use Apple Tree. And I'm going to use that template that I saved. It's the only one here. All templates would be listed here, but this is the only one I just saved. And so there it is. So what that's going to do is it's going to use Apple Tree site, or I could use Buck Road, as I showed an example earlier of just putting a different site in with the same template. And I want that emailed out to any recipient inside Flowlink or inside Flowlink Cipher. So if I click a name, that person's going to get this email sent to them, and I can have it include a PDF or a CSV. Additionally, I can add external emails. So let's say Jimmy down the hall needs a copy of this, but he doesn't necessarily have access to Cipher. I could put Jimmy's email in here, and he'll get a copy of that PDF and or CSV as well. And finally, I get to choose when do I want it sent out. Well, typically I'm going to do a last month report. I'll have it sent out at the beginning of the month. But I do have a choice. I could do it the first Monday of the month, the first Tuesday of the month. In this case, I want it the first of every month. And I'm going to have it shoot out to the email at 8 a.m. in the morning. By clicking on that, there it is. It's this top one. I didn't give it the job name above it, but there it is. There's my my report. It'll go out at 8 a.m. on the first of the month, and it will send it out to all those people. Now, I don't want this to be sent out to all those people, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this. But that's it. That's as easy as it gets of setting up the scheduler. Once you have that template made, you simply just tell the scheduler which site you want to be thrown into this template, and it'll email it out. And that's how you create reports. So we got the analysis report, which you can hand make. Again, once you have it made, you could just simply click on it, and it opens it right up, and you hit the export. Reports, you use the wizard to create its reports. If you want to go further, you can make a template out of it, in which case you can use the scheduler to make it automated. All right, and that's what I got for our demonstration portion. Next, I want to talk about briefly the API interface, which is part of Cipher. So what the API does, it stands for Application Program Interface. And what it is, it's code written between two software programs. And what it allows it to do is it allows the data inside of Cipher to be taken out and put into another third-party database. This way, if somebody already is using a third party, let's say a SCADA system or Wonderware or whatever they're using for their data analysis, and they simply want to keep using that data analysis tool that they have, or maybe some sort of alarming tool or gate control or whatever that database goes to, this is the ability for them to go out and capture the data straight from the Cipher database and bring it down through their server and into their own database. Now we have this available now. What we can do is we can give you information that specifies what you need to write the software to get those data sets or those numbers out of the Flowlink Cipher. And then, of course, the other side of the code will be where does it go in the third-party database. So we can give you the information about our side. You'll need to work with whoever third party you're using or whatever database structure you're using to use it on the back end. With that being said, we are also developing right now the call support, which means we will then be able to take Flowlink Cipher and grab data out of other third-party databases. So this is something we're working on now. It does heavily rely on if the third party allows you to get data out of it, if it's open source or not. So there's going to be a little bit of development there as well, working with the third party to make sure it's freely available from them. But if it's available, we can then bring that into Cipher, so it will show up as a site just like your other sites do now in Cipher. And finally, the summary of everything that Darrell and I covered. We are providing now, Teledyne ISCO is providing hardware for you to make intelligent decisions based upon what your needs are. We're going to have different hardware packages available to you. This is going to reduce your capital expenditure because you're renting those packages instead of purchasing them. That also allows you to reduce your downtime and cost of repairs because you're renting it. If something breaks, we send you a new one or we repair it. And again, no cost to you because it's a rental. We're supplying the remote communications so you can get that data out of those sites from those sites out in the field. We can get that data in here. And then with the API, it would allow you to use the software of your choice. And that's what's nice about the API. You're not, stuck with using Cipher. If that's not something you want to use, we have the ability for you to use the API to get it into a different software package. However, I would like to say, I think if you try Cipher and you use the tools that we provide you, I think you'll be very happy with what we can supply. I have talked to customers who wanted to take the API right away and not use Cipher at all and bring it over. I simply spent 15 minutes with them to show what Cipher can do and turn them into a Cipher user. I'm not saying they didn't still take the data and put it someplace else, but they are actually using the tools built into Cipher because they just weren't aware of what was there. So from here, I'm going to pass this over to Sharon, and she will explain the Q&A portion of this.
Well, thank you, Darrell and Dennis, for sharing your expertise. And we are now opening this up for questions. There was a question whether the presentation will be sent out. We will be sending a copy of the video to all of you once we do have that edited. Do we have any other questions? Oh, hang on. It looks like there's some coming in, so I'll turn it back over to Dennis and Darrell.
So we do have one. I'll take this next one. Can I receive alarms without the Cipher subscription? Yes. The modems in the meters, as long as you've got your meters set up with their texting ability, technically we can set up the modems in the meters to actually send the alarm directly from the meter to the end user. So that isn't using Cipher at all. That's really the meter is just monitoring itself, looking for that programmed alarm you have in it, and then upon that alarm it'll wake up and shoot out a text message for your alarm. So yes, you can receive alarms without Cipher. You can do it just from the modems in the meter, but you will need modems and texting subscription or texting ability in those accounts.
All right, I'll take the next one. There was a follow-up to that. So can the Cipher alarms be sent to multiple users? The answer is yes. So you can set up multiple people to receive the alarms, and you can set up multiple alarm conditions where maybe it's a low battery voltage would go to the technicians for an alarm. If it's overflow, they would get a different alarm, but you can send that to multiple people.
And that ties in kind of into the next one. The next question we have is, do all recipients have their own license? So um, there is no limit on the users to log into Cipher. That's not a limitation. So that kind of ties into to Darrell's answer about the alarms, the number of alarms that can go out. You as long as you have a user account in the Cipher, we can have Cipher send you that text or email out without any issue. And again, there is no number of users that can log in based upon the subscription. The subscription base in Cipher is all based upon the number of meters being pushed in. So the billing is based on the meters, not the number of users. And because there's no limit to the number of users, which means there's really no limit to the number of people that can get the alarms.
And Dennis, can you talk about the next question on the API?
So there's talk a little more about the API and the options available now. I missed the slide you put up. Okay, so basically all the API it's a software package. And what that allows you to do, you write it. It's not something we already have pre-built or anything. What we do have is a document, a PDF document that helps a software developer write the proper codes to access the Cipher database. The login information is built into there. So the idea is you have this little piece in between that wakes up and it makes a virtual connection to the database, and you're able to then tell it which pieces of equipment or which data sets, which pieces of information from which site you want. So basically, the API is a bridge. It allows it to go to the database and say, okay, I need site A's level, velocity, flow rate. It knows where to find it, and then it can bring that down and put it into the third-party database. So that's all the API is. It's really a bridge. Again, it's not something we can just pass out because a lot of that, the API portion of it, it's a 50-50. I can give you 50% of it, which is how you communicate with Cipher to get to the site name, to get to the data sets, and get to the raw data to bring it over. The other half, though, depends on where it's going. So because there are so many third-party databases and things like that on the flip side, we're going to need to know information about where is it going to go once you receive it. So that is the part where you're going to rely heavily on the other manufacturer, whoever you're bringing this data into. But basically, what we can supply you is our side of it, and then you'll need to find out where it's going on the other side. But at the end, once you have where it's coming from, that's us, and where it's going, that's them, you write the software and it basically ties it together so then it's automated. So it's not something you're probably going to do on your own unless you're a software developer, but it is. But what we can do is supply you all the information you need to give to a software developer to then have our part of it taken care of, and then you'll have to work with the third party on the other half.
And I wanted to add to that, we have already been working with some other software companies to make sure that they can, we can easily bridge, from our software into theirs. And so depending on who your other software company is, let us know. We may have already, or just contact them and find out if they've already worked with Teledyne ISCO on this. We've been finding that it's been a fairly easy transition to marry the two softwares together.
I'll just take the next one, Darrell, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It says this, can this system be paired with other probes to generate reports to provide loading data such as TSS or TP? Basically, yeah, can we bring other pieces of equipment into Cipher? Directly right now, no. What we would need is some sort of way of interfacing it. So we've got a couple answers here. There's more, or yeah, there's more than one answer to the question. How do I get competitor probes, or I should say third-party probe information into Cipher? So the first way would be to integrate it, or interface it, I should say, with one of our meters. So if you have an SDI-12 probe hooked up to a signature, so the signature could then take that information, store it internally to itself, and then that data would then be pushed up to Cipher. Once it's in Cipher, Cipher can display it in whatever units of measure that needs to be in. We basically just need to get a way for it to get in there. And the best way in that case would be use the signature as your interface. So it's monitoring your third-party probe, storing it in its database, and then that sends it up to Cipher. So that would be one way to do it automated. Just interfacing it with the signature would be an example here. With that third-party SDI 12 probe or Modbus probe, we have a few interfaces we can hook up with. We have 4 to 20 inputs as well with the signature. Any one of those type of inputs, you can get it into the signature. Once it's in there, it can send it up to Cipher. Cipher can use it. The second answer to that would be if you had the data already stored in your third-party device. Let's say this probe has its own logger system and that logger is collecting the data. How would I then get that logger up to Cipher? That would take a little more manual because we don't have a direct link from the many third-party systems out there to come right into Cipher. So what you would do if you're not going to interface it with like the signature in my first example, then you would just get the data out of the meter, the third party meter, and get it into like a CSV format. Once you get into a CSV format, we can then upload that directly with Cipher on the site screen, which I didn't cover in this because I was dealing mainly with reports, not interfacing. But on the site screen, you can go and there is an import icon there, and it allows you just to drag and drop your CSV file into there. Then that would upload that data, and then that file would appear as a site in Cipher. And then you could, of course, make reports and add that to other sites as well. You could mix match.
All right. The next question that came in is, can you add rain gauges to the Cipher platform? Along the same lines as what Dennis was just talking about. Yes, we can. So with our signature meter, we already have a rain gauge input, so we can tie into ISCO rain gauges or other rain gauges through the signature meter. With our DuraTracker portable system, that will be available in around Q1 next year. And if you had the CSV data, as Dennis mentioned, from a different rain gauge, we could import that data into the Cipher.
Okay, we got another question. Is the Cipher software only available with the rental equipment, which is what this presentation has been about? Mainly, we're keying in on the rental, and that's the question. Is it only available for what we're showing today, or can it be purchased as a subscription and used with software with the flow meter that you already have purchased outright? So, great question. Yes, you do not have to. Cipher is not tied to this rental option that we're discussing today. It is available for it, obviously, why we're talking about it, but it's not tied to that only. So most of our customers right now, because this isn't even available until 2024. So right now we have a lot of people purchasing Cipher for their sites. And so absolutely, you can purchase Cipher per site subscription. And then depending on what number of meters you want pushed up to it, as long as you got a modem on your ISCO equipment there, we can push that data up into Cipher, and yeah, you could view it there. So no, it is not tied just to this rental situation that we have here. You can rent or subscribe to it outright for your existing pre-purchased equipment that you currently have. It is a yearly subscription, and it is again based on the number of sites you want pushed in. Everything from 1 to unlimited, really. We have different software, or we have different packages from single purchases, and then I think it's like 10, and then 25, and then there's like 200, and then we do have an unlimited asterisk. There is a limit on it. It's like 10,000 or something like that. But the point is we have different tiers that you can purchase per year for the number of sites that you need. Another question here, is there further training or presentations on Cipher for I&I analysis? Yes, again, this presentation here is mainly about the rental system here that we're putting together, as well as the reports and automating that. But if you do see something in Cipher that you want more information on, because obviously I didn't cover everything Cipher can do in this demonstration, we do have a number of videos already online. If you just simply do on YouTube Flowlink Cipher demonstration, there's probably a half a dozen out there with different types of demonstrations. But more importantly, if you have Cipher and you want to do something that you can't find easily, or you just want to get it out of the way, give us a call. You got our emails there on the screen right now. Also, you can reach Teledyne ISCO at our 800 number, 800-228-4373. And if you press number 1 at the menu, that gets you right into tech support, and we can walk you through any type of graph, or in this case, I&I analysis for you. But so yes, we can do the I&I analysis. We can do the training with you. If it's going to be a lot of people in your training session, let us know. We might have to set something up so we can, chunk out 2 hours worth of time. I can't say we can do that entire type of training on, just on a call coming in, depending on what we have for traffic that day. But if you want to plan something up for a large group, we have a lot of questions, we can definitely set aside some time where we can work with you guys. Any other questions? That comes to the end of the questions that we have right now. So this would be your chance to throw anything else at us.
Yeah, looks like that's about it, Dennis.
Yeah, I think that's it. Well, thank you everyone for participating and being here.